because I don't trust Otter. Okay.
Yes.
We'll
Hello,
wait.
Hans. Hello, Arthur.
We will wait for some minutes more to allow more people to join. Yeah, Ghanim is here. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Ghanim.
Hello.
Hey, Michael and Dierk. Okay, we have some new friends here. I'm very happy about that. I hope that everybody will join us as members. Okay, somebody. Okay. So maybe Marie-Luise, you could start sharing your agenda for this meeting of today.
I only want to give you some entrance and then very short, and then I plan that the persons here in our committee can introduce themselves, and then I will start with my presentation.
Okay.
Okay, the space philosophy is one of the core elements of our activities at Space Renaissance International, and a lot has already been done in this regard. I will go into this briefly later. Today we want to start by selecting one of the important topics of current political debates in order to examine it together with the aim of writing a small publication on it. There are many possible space philosophical topics. I will show you a list later. However, the topic of peace in space seems to me to be the most important current topic. Before we get into the subject, I would like to ask you to briefly introduce yourself, as we want to work together. I would ask Dr. Hans Bandmann to begin, as he unfortunately has to leave shortly due to other commitments. So Hans, it's your turn now.
Okay. I have been interested in extraterrestrial space from a physical and philosophical point of view since I was young. This led me to complete my study in philosophy with a doctoral thesis on the subject of the infinite in philosophy and mathematics. However, I'm not only interested in extraterrestrial topics alone. I also had and still have a lot of interest in terrestrial topics. For example, a few decades ago, I organized a conference on the industrialization of Africa under the aspect of freedom or peace on the basis of development. So about this conference, I wrote also a book to deepen this subject. Unfortunately, I got this morning a call that I urgently need to attend an appointment this evening. Therefore, I have to leave the meeting about 7:30, 8 o'clock at latest. In order not to disturb the meeting, I will therefore leave quietly the session. Although the persons I see here on the screen look very interesting, and I regret that I have to leave so early.
Okay, thank you, Hans Bandmann. Hans Bandmann is a philosopher and a medical person, medicine. Mediciner, I don't know the English word now, sorry. I think the next one could be Arthur Woods.
Hello, turn my microphone on. Hello, nice to meet you all. Arthur Woods here. I'm based in Switzerland. I've been involved in space since I was growing up in the Space Center in Florida, so it's a long time ago. Anyway, I think the topic that you mentioned, Marie, was very important about peace. I think it's one of the most important topics that we should look at, and how we can approach that topic in the future, in the near future especially. My background is basically in space arts, but for the last few years, my company has been developing a space solar power concept using lunar resources, which was a study that was sponsored by the European Space Agency. And based on that study, we have a couple of projects that are ongoing right now that lead to the realization of this concept. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Arthur. And perhaps the next one could be Jerry.
Hi there. For those who don't know me, I am a freelance space presenter. So it's my job to give presentations on astronomy and space exploration, which I do nowadays mostly online. But I used to do this all over the United Kingdom and abroad as well. I also presented space workshops in schools, which involved firing rockets and making and testing Mars landers. The presentation that I gave just a bit earlier today was about a project of mine that I initiated back in 2013 to review and bring up to date the original Island 1 space habitat studies from the 1970s, as portrayed in Gerard O'Neill's book, The High Frontier.
Mm-hmm.
And out of that, we developed a new concept. Instead of going for bigger and bigger things, we went for something much smaller, because we will need somewhere for the workforce to live out in space. So as we have Island 1, 2, and 3, we developed Island 0. And I have our there you go, that's our logo on a tie, which I had produced recently. And I've been doing really a lot of work on this. And just last week, I got word from the International Astronautical Federation that they want me to do a presentation at the IAC in Milan in October. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Perhaps as Jerry perhaps we can go now to Ghanim.
Yes, my name is Ghanim. I am actually from Kuwait, and I'm currently doing my PhD part-time at the University of Strathclyde in thermal management for solar power generator, based on solar power satellite space telescope, based on John Mankin's invention, the SPS alpha concept. So it's located in geostationary orbit, and actually I completed the model, the thermal model. I have now first results predicting the temperatures because it's in geostationary orbit, so most of the time it's going to be in the sun, but there will be 45 minutes under the shade, so I have the temperatures. Next step will be to identify passive techniques to cool down the system a little bit. And yeah, that's my current work. Before that, I used to work in the oil industry. I also worked in Kuwait University in a satellite project. So yeah, this is what I'm doing. I am now co-chair the Towards Young Generation Committee at the Space Renaissance Initiative. Organizing an event, our main activity now to organize an event for the youth, to involve them in space philosophical ideas, astronautical humanism, and by doing it, we mean involving them in a design project in a O'Neill cylinder. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ghanim. And perhaps the next person could be Guy or Guy.
Guy, unmute, please.
Your microphone isn't working.
Yeah, it's working now. It's okay. So, most of what we are talking about, I'm reading articles.
Guy, sorry, there is a lot of noise. Can you just regulate the volume or do something?
Or speak but less loud. It's outside and
Because it's difficult to understand you.
okay, I'll try. We'll use a headset.
Yeah, that would be better.
Okay, can you hear me now better? Okay, so most of what we are talking about here, I wrote articles 40 years ago. After a meeting with Brian O'Leary, who was my teacher, and he was the assistant of Jerry O'Neill, just after Jerry O'Neill wrote The High Frontier. In the 90s, I was chairman of the education committee of the IAC, and because and I organized small meetings for our education group. And the second one, which was in Almaty in Kazakhstan, the conclusions were that our access to space and solar system is just as important in the history of mankind and history of life as the invention of agriculture 10,000 years ago. And this is happening just over a few years now. And I have with me Willie Lameyer. And Willie, you'll present yourself very quickly.
Hello.
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 Nice to meet you. So I'm very pleased and glad to be with you to talk about this topic. I'm a science teacher and I'm involved in outreach and space education. And because I think that space for the young people is very crucial, important. And as a teacher, I think I am a kind of bridge between the present and the future. And I would like to to be the best I can do for my students.
Oh yes, thank you very much. I also think that this teaching in the schools is very important for our young generation in the future. And perhaps the next one could be Dierk Spreen from Berlin.
Yeah, hello everybody. Nice to meet you here. For my person, I'm one of the chairmen of the Society of Space and Culture in Germany, who is Marie-Luise is our head thinker, so to say. Yeah, and I published 2 books about space travel, and it's from a sociologist viewpoint. The one is with Joachim Fischer from the Technical University of Dresden, and the second one is with Bernd Flessner from the University of Nuremberg, Erlangen. He is interested in future studies. And these books are about space travel and topics of space travel in relation to society and societal aspects. On what I'm doing at the moment, I do have a visiting professorship at the Berlin School of Economics and Law. This is the HWR in Berlin, and at the Center of Historical of the Military and Sociology of the Military in Potsdam, which is an institution of the German Armed Forces. So I'm very interested what is coming out of our visit or meeting today here, and I'm very happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dierk Spreen. And the next could be Amalie Sinclair.
Hello, hi, yes. My background's in the arts and literature. I joined Space Renaissance in about 2010 and worked together closely on a number of projects. I think we really reached a turning point here somehow, because the technologies are moving so fast, you know, especially with AI and outer space. I live near Silicon Valley, so basically I've kind of watched this whole scenario unfolding, the fantastic rise of the information society. And I feel that there's a part missing is the philosophy, how the technology meets the humanistic ideal and how that can be developed. So looking into the future, I think we can make a significant contribution. Yes, thank you. Right.
Yes, thank you, Emily. We are a humanistic organization, and in so far, I'm very happy that you all are here and that we are so international. Yes, here in this committee. And I would like to give the floor to Werner Grandl from Austria.
Hello everyone, my name is Werner Grandl. I am a retired architect and civil engineer, and I was interested since my youth, since I have been a student in space technology, especially in designing space stations and space habitats, but also in mitigating the risk of asteroids, especially of near asteroids, which could sometimes collide with the Earth. I have worked together with the Viennese Institute of Astronomy in this case, and I have published some papers during the last 20 years, and I am a member of Space Renaissance International since the year 2021, I think. Okay, this is in a few words. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Werner. The next one should be Michael Schumann from Brandenburg, and he is the second director of our Space Philosophy Committee.
Thank you. My name is Michael Schumann. I have studied history and philosophy in Vienna and Potsdam, where I earned my bachelor and master's degree. My research is actually focused on philosophical anthropology, contemporary trends and posthumanism, and as you may think, spaceflight in its many facets. At present, I'm in the final phase of my PhD studies, and I expect to finish them this or next year. In my PhD thesis, to make a long story short, I review the space advocacy literature of the last century and try to extract as much philosophical relevant content as it seems detectable to me. For example, anthropologies, explicit, implicit, as justifications for the inevitability of spaceflight, or suggestions on the possible stature of human beings in the greater universe. In this content, I correlate with the main topics and developments of the 20th and 21st centuries, for example, the enduring limits to growth debate, to situate spaceflight as an emerging subject within contemporary humanities and social sciences. In case anyone is skeptical, I refer to Jim Parr's astrosociology or Michael Chetch's exosociology, two of the better known fields of study for aspiring academics. And because of my research interest, remarked earlier, the intersection with the spirit of the space renaissance, I'm here now as a co-chair of our committee and will give my best to support Marie-Luise.
Yes, thank you very much, Michael. I think we have a lot of competences here in our group, and I hope that we could work together. So my aim is that we perhaps could publish a short publication about our topic or topics. Now I would like to present at first,
Sorry, can I introduce myself, because there is a lot of people.
Oh, sorry. Nein, no, sorry, Adriano.
Okay.
I thought that all in the world.
Normally everybody knows me,
you.
but I think there are some new friends here. Sorry, to say a few words. Okay, so I am Adriano Autino. I live in Italy, and I am one of the founders of Space Renaissance International in 2008. Well, before it was a Space Renaissance Initiative. We defined the manifesto, the philosophical manifesto, during almost 1 year. And in 2010, our association, Space Renaissance International, was founded. So this is the name of the association nowadays. In my life, I was an informatician, a computer science. I have worked for many years before.
I'm ready to go. And it's not going.
Hello? Okay, sorry. I spend my life working in software for real-time automation systems in industry, in the infrastructure, and in space. In the last 20 years of my career, I developed software tools and methodologies for system engineering. say a tool for managing requirements, test procedures, and everything for non-recurrent projects. So this is my technical career on the space philosophy side. Let me say, I started in the late 70s, 1970s, criticizing the Club of Rome of Augusto Pecei and their work, The Limits of Growth, where they weren't able to look at space as an alternative solution to to just decreasing in our planet. So I started studying what I found around Krafft-Ericke, for instance. It was my, let me say, my first philosophical interest in space philosophy. And so I try to understand most of his papers of the extraterrestrial imperative and industrializing the moon, etc. In the 90s, I started to develop a magazine on the internet, a webzine. It was called The Technologies of the Frontier, and it allowed me to meet several friends around the world, including Arthur Woods, that's here with us today, including Patrick Collins, including many others, Michael Martin Smith, and others, that we started to discuss about civilization expansion into space. And in 2008, 2008, we founded the Space Renaissance International. That it kept on growing slowly, but it is growing. And nowadays we are about 150 members, and we hope to reach 200 members by the end of this year. And of course, all the friends, the new friends that are here, are very welcome to join. I will share the link to the registration form. And okay, so let me say, I'm working a lot each day, and people maybe don't imagine how much it takes to produce Space Renaissance in terms of a website, in terms of coordination of the meetings, in terms of what we are doing now. So providing the technical platform to hold our meeting, all our committees, and everything. I was the president until the 21, when in our third World Congress we elected Werner as president, and we have a new Congress in 2026 maybe, because we normally each 5 years. Okay, but I don't want to introduce Space Renaissance now. It was just about me, and yeah, we are working a lot. We are working now with Copus and UNUSA, and we are going to the ISDC in Los Angeles in less than 1 month, and so on. So very welcome everybody to join us and to work all together to expand civilization into space.
Yes, thank you very much, Adriano. You are our best chief, and you're very productive, and we all love you and appreciate you. Okay, it's a better word. I can now go to the short presentation. I think so.
Hi, Marlène. Welcome.
Marlène.
Thank you, Adriano. Sorry, I was a little late. Thank you.
Do you want to introduce yourself, Marlène?
Okay, sure. I'm sorry I don't have my video on, but I'm very happy to be here. Dr. Heuser was so kind to invite me, and I have been part for some time, and now I'm a very happy member of the group, and very excited to participate in the philosophy committee. As I had mentioned to Dr. Heuser back in my university days, the philosophy program and the philosophers that I studied with were really fantastic, and found them to be a central, their work was become a central feature of my own work now, which has to do with succession of states, returns and restitution, the extension of regimes beyond Earth, development of laws. And so this philosophical concept is, I feel, very directly applicable to very real and practical issues that we're working with now, even, for example, at the COPUS. So very interested to see how the committee's work progresses. I'm very happy to participate in to the extent I am able to, and very excited to be a part of this group with so many notable individuals. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Marlène. As Marlène is an expert in space law and also in the philosophical foundations of space law, and I'm very happy that you are with us. Okay, I begin with my very short presentation because I think we can then, after this presentation, discuss some points to come together. This is a list of some possible topics of the Space Philosophy Committee. The history of space philosophy, systematics of space philosophy, metaphysics, ontology, anthropology, natural, cultural, and technical philosophy. Sorry, I have to change something here. Okay, natural, cultural, and social philosophy. Then we have the topic of space ethics, the philosophy of international space law and peace. Then we have the topic of a comparison of space philosophies in different cultures, of China, Europe, India, Russia, USA. And we also have in mind to look in the religions of the world because of their space concepts. And also we have the topic of human-machine relationships, especially transhumanism. Space philosophy since antiquity was my main work in the last years, and so far I have worked, published and lectured on the history and systematics of space philosophy, especially on Plato, Neoplatonism, Eriugena, Giordano Bruno, Leibniz, Spinoza, Kant, Schelling, and the Romantics. As you see, this is the classical tradition of space philosophy or philosophy in general. And 2 years ago, I also organized a session at the annual Congress of the German Aerospace Society on the topic of humanism or transhumanism in space travel, in which I confronted Kant's humanistic philosophy of human dignity with transhumanist concepts. Today, I would like to start a new topic with you together, space ethics and the philosophical foundations of space law, starting from Kant. Michael Schumann will then go on to show that this topic is quite new, as there is hardly anything on Kant with regard to space ethics and space law. Sorry, why does it not? Okay. At the International Astronautical Congress in Paris, I gave a statement, and I would like to give you the also 4 slides of this statement or lecture. Antiquity, Plato points upwards to the heaven of ideas. Aristotle points to the sensible earth. And the time of the Renaissance was a rebirth of antiquity and its further development. Here on the right side, you can see a detail from Raphael's School of Athens. Here, the first slide is about the Renaissance. I could find that Giordano Bruno wrote really a first space philosophy, and his main aim was to break out of the closed system of the Middle Ages. We can learn a lot of him because now I think we also are living in a closed system in ideological terms. And Giordano Bruno wrote in De Immenso 1591, there can be an infinite number of things come into existence in this great space, and yet they think this world here is enough. I think this is a very actual statement. As already for Bruno, one world was not enough. In German classicism, Schelling was the one who adopted or referred to Giordano Bruno and his Giordano Bruno's philosophy. And Schelling introduced natural history as a process of self-liberation until man detaches himself from the earth and becomes a cosmic citizen of the world. And the Romanticism referred to Schelling, and here you see 2 nice pictures, beautiful pictures of Caspar David Friedrich, which show the famous longing for the sky, the romantic Himmelssehnsucht. After this this statement or my activities at the AC in Paris, I got an email from Skirea, a journal of physics, in which there were Chinese and Indian scientists, and they asked me to join their editorial board and to be a reviewer, to be a review team, also to be a member of the reviewer team, space culture and space philosophy. And they are yes, they are referred here to my abstract. Perhaps I can read it. Contemporary philosophy and art, at least in Europe, is influenced by phenomenology and fundamental ontology, both philosophical schools of thought that are explicitly anti-Copernican and strive for an earthly rerouting of man. It is therefore not surprising that since the 1960s, at least in Europe, cultural studies, social sciences, and the humanities have generally been only marginally concerned with the subject of space travel. Today's technical space flight, on the other hand, is based on a long cultural history of space travel with the wings of the spirit, which, beginning with Plato's sky chariot, cognitively opened up outer space to humans. The Copernican revolution in the Renaissance made virtual space flights possible and inspired eminent thinkers to make imaginative trips to the moon. In the art of the time, this new space revolution was expressed in planetary perspectives. Later, in classical German philosophy, expanded space consciousness was combined with an evolutionary perspective and with the idea of a natural self-liberation process that would detach humanity from Earth and make them cosmic citizens. Universal anthropology then found expression in the art of Romanticism. My thesis was and is to counter the widespread new geocentrism in the humanities, a return to the beginnings and long history of space thinking is necessary. When I began building an international collaboration on space and culture in 2004, I realized that in the absence of modern approaches, a return to history was essential to develop a viable modern philosophy of space. In the process, I discovered that in addition to the long literary history, there was also a long philosophical history of space flight in classical philosophy since antiquity. This was a research by me and developed for teaching at the University of Braunschweig in the form of transdisciplinary curricula, and then used for public education in the form of lecture series and conferences. In 2010, the Society for Space Culture was founded, whose state, among other things, to research, document, reflect, discuss, publish, artistically design, and anchor the diverse interdisciplinary connections between culture and space and education. In this context, also the Space Poetry series was developed and has been praised by national media as a new genre and successful event format. Since 2021, I have been making my research on the history of the classical philosophy of space flight since antiquity available to the group Space Renaissance International in order to establish an academy. So I think our space philosophy activities to date have been recognized, apparently, especially in India and China. And so my idea was perhaps the idea of a weapon-free moon will also be heard there. What happened here at the UN Corpus 2024 in Vienna, there was a speech by the representative of China at April 15, and he said, this is a quote: space has been the subject of human dreams since ancient times. Today, space is the center of humanity's dreams. With the rapid development of science and technology, space is now the common frontier of mankind, and the exploration of space is a common endeavor of mankind, also a common endeavor of mankind. I think this is very important to focus on this common activity, and it is not only the interest of some states or some nations or some peoples, but it is a common endeavor of mankind. And I think this common endeavor of mankind must include the dream of peaceful use of outer space. That must be our most important goal, I think. Otherwise, all our activities will be in vain. A weaponized moon would be nothing but a nightmare, in my view. But the first unsuccessful commercial American lunar lander Peregrine Mission 1 had on board also military instruments. Also the first thing which also wanted to be brought to the moon by a commercial company were here military instruments, and I think this is we should think about that. And I think we have here a confrontation between the concept of a weapon-free space and the militarization of space. And I can here refer to, I think, a real sensational current discussion in the UN Security Council on proposals to declare outer space as a completely weapon-free zone. As Russia and China have introduced this resolution into the UN Security Council, as to make to make space to a completely weapon-free zone. And unfortunately, the USA, Great Britain, France, Japan, Malta, Slovenia, and South Korea have voted against. But I think that this topic is now on the floor, on the table, and I think also other other resolutions are now coming to this topic. Okay, space ethics and international space law. As many people are calling for space ethics now, and our activities in the context of the UN Corpus is here, should here also mentioned, because the Corpus means Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. Okay, the current discussion, the UN Security Council, I mentioned it. And perhaps it could be a compromise to call for a weapon-free moon. This was something which I brought in. And I think we could make a campaign because to this slogan, weapon-free moon, because weapon-free moon sounds very very good, like a moon village, as a weapon-free moon and moon village. I think this could very well go together. Okay, starting with guns ethics and international law. The idea, I come to this idea in connection with Kant's 300th birthday this year. This birthday of Kant is celebrated worldwide with major international conferences, for example, in Kaliningrad, formerly Königsberg, where Kant was born, and where he taught at the university. And also there's a planned big conference in Bonn, in Germany. The Kaliningrad conference and the Bonn conference, have each around 450 Kant specialists from all over the world. And I think Kant is one of the very great philosophers in this whole context. It is sozusagen present. And the actuality of Kant's philosophy is seen in the following topics. Kant's relevance for a possible international peace order. This is one of the main topics in Bonn, in Germany. And Kant's humanism and the problems of artificial intelligence. This was the focus in Kaliningrad. And I think this could be our topic, Kant's categorical imperative and intelligible freedom, universal legislation with relation to space. This means freedom of the individual against autocratic rule, also, for example, on the moon or in the space habitat. Then second, the universal legislation against the arbitrariness of individuals, groups, people, states, or associations of states. Also, I think the principle of best practices is not enough because I think we need a universal legislation for a peaceful order, not only on the Earth but also in space. And last but not least, space for all is also something which follows from this universal philosophy of Kant. Okay, Kant wrote a famous a lecture about also two words with the title Two Words Perpetual Peace from 1755. And here in this writing, Kant defines peace as the opposite of the state of nature. Also Kant was a realistic philosopher. He was a thinker of realism regarding to our anthropology. Also with regard to anthropology, Kant was a realist, and our state of nature is composed by instincts, passions, egoism, chaos, struggle of all against all. And we need to go ahead, above our state of nature to realize the intelligible freedom, which is an a priori freedom, and then we have the chance to to look for an international order of peace. And he wrote there must be a confederation of special kind, which may be called the League of Peace, which sought to put an end to all wars forever. This League of Peace aims merely at preserving and securing the liberty of a state for itself, and at the same time of other allied states, without allowing them, like men in the state of nature, to subject themselves to public laws and coercion under them. Also he don't want to have a world order with as one state and with one government, but he wanted to have a free association, a confederation of sovereign republics. This was the idea of Kant, the main idea. And you know all the Kant's ethics, the categorical imperative, which has a lot of several formulations. These are here the most important formulations. First, act only according to that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Also you see here that Kant can very good combine freedom with universal law. This is not a contradiction in Kant's philosophy, and I think this is the crucial importance of this philosophy for our nowadays problems. And the second formulation here is also very important. Act in such a way that you treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of any other, never merely as a means to an end, but always at the same time as an end. Also Kant was against the utilitaristic ethics, and he the dignity of man is the outcome of this second formulation. Okay, this is something about the history of Kant's book here, Kant and the League of Nations. After the First World War, many authors used Kant's peace treaties as a philosophical foundation for the League of Nations, referring to the appendix of Kant's peace treaties. It was demanded that foreign policy should not be based on the interests of states, but on the law. This, I think, is also a crucial idea of Kant's peace treatise, not to look on the special interests of special states, but on the law as a universal law. With reference to Kant's remarks on the spirit of trade, also very important, the founding of a World Bank association to organize the world market was proposed in this time. Also Kant's idea was that it is better to make commerce and to cooperate together in a productive way to develop the world and not to fight against each other. Now I come to our possible work, space. This could be the title, Space Ethics on the Basis of Kant's Philosophy, but only a possible title, Space Ethics on the Basis of Kant's Philosophy. And here are some points. Also Kant's categorical imperative with regard to peaceful coexistence in space. Kant's towards perpetual peace with regard to the possible extensions of the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, and Kant's general natural history and theory of the heavens with reference to a historization of the ethical goal of expansion into outer space. I think this is also a very important point, that we have in Kant's philosophy not only the universal ideas, but also the historization of all of the system, and also a historization of the universe in general. As Kant and Laplace developed the nebula hypothesis, and Kant thought about the original development of the universe. And also on this basis, Schelling extended Kant's ethics, and he called it ethics a la Spinoza. And I think that we have also to deal with Schelling's extension of Kant's ethics, because Schelling was the one who thought about our existence in space, also in outer space. Also Schelling was of the opinion that we are not only earthlings, but that we have to that our habitats has to be in space and not only on Earth. And I think the Romanticism is also would also be something which is interesting for our project. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. And I would now like to go to the discussion. Oh.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marie-Luise. Terrific presentation. Very, very interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Also, I would like to hear if there is, yes, what do you think about this project? What could it be something to work together on this project, or should it be so that Michael and I and some others work on this project and then we presented it here in the committee?
Sorry, why we are seeing you black again, as if you are sharing? No.
Sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
So it was my fault. Okay, my question is, if the people who are the persons who are now here in the committee wants to work with us on this project, or should it be so that Michael Schumann and I and others work on this project, and then we present this project here in the committee.
Hello, Marie, this is Amalie. I think the one issue you brought up here, this recent discussion about the ban on weapons, the treaty on weapons brought forward by Russia and China, is very significant. Your idea to focus on the moon as a weapons-free base, that, I mean, is very valid, but there's a dynamic in here. There's some militarization. There's a new wave of modernizations coming in, and perhaps that's something that we could discuss within the upcoming program. How that can be framed, because it's very pertinent to the unfolding of the actual dimension of the exploration of space, how that happens. So I just thought I'd bring that up, but I would like to take part in whatever it is that you're designing. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Emily. You brought in some publications about the modern advances in the militarization of space, and I think this is also interesting for us to look what are the modern activities in this field. And I think the military industrial complex is also very busy to look for space as a new field of their activities. And this is, I think this year is really crucial, or this year 2024 is really crucial with respect to this peace movement in this UN Security Council. And I think the NGOs have the duty to support this discussion. And we are now, I'm coming from philosophy, but I think philosophy is very important in this whole field. You see it in the speech of the Chinese representative at the UN Corpus last week or several weeks ago, also in April. So the representatives of nations like China, they rely on philosophy, and I think there we have a chance to put in our views. And I think also the sociology is here very important, not only the philosophy. And I would like to ask Dierk Spreen how he see it, how he look at this project.
Well, I think that the work of this committee could be very important to create, let me say, the basis for a campaign, because we already advanced this proposal in our discussions about a weapon-free space and a weapon-free moon. I think this could be the concept of a campaign.
Yes,
that we can carry on in publicly in everywhere we are talking and making initiatives, and at Corpus as well. I believe, well, let me say, it is very delicate to having seen for the first time the discussion at Corpus in the past week, no? Where, of course, China and Russia on one side, and the United States and UK and other countries on the other side are always, let me say, opposing each other when sensible topics are discussed, while reviewing documents and seeing each paragraph to be approved or not. And sometimes they are discussing on one only word of a paragraph with counterposed speeches, small speeches by US on one side and Russia or China on the other side. And I believe that for us, from our point of view, and for our position, it would be, yeah, of course, we can refer to the positions of one or the other schieramento, no? Of the one of the other coalition, let me say. But it would be very much better if we will come up with our own concepts. And I think Kant could be a very, very good opportunity to bring a philosophical discourse on space. In that context, I think it would be very, very interesting, because they are not talking, never talking from a philosophical point of view. And so I believe that introducing ethics in that discussion would be another point of another relevant point from SI, because we already made a good speech on the 18th SDG and on civilian space development for sustainability and all these kind of things. And I think it was very well received. And maybe in the next General Assembly that will take place in June, and I already have made another request to be SI and ad hoc observer over there, as we were in these 2 weeks for the legal subcommittee. It could be very interesting to bring a short speech. I think maybe we will have another 5 minutes time to as we had now, no? Bringing up the proposal for space. No? Space.
Yes, it's a very good idea. I saw that Marlène has gave a hand.
Yeah.
Yes, Marlène.
Yes, hi. So I just had a few comments. One is I wanted to thank you very much for your presentation, which was very good and very informative. I think it was a good basis for our first discussion. And in terms of the plan of work, perhaps it might be good if you move forward to work with the colleagues in order to then present to the group, because I think ultimately the value of this committee is could be of great potential value to the COPA. So I'm happy that you mentioned the UN Security Council vote, and also the discussions at the COPWES legal subcommittee last week that have to do with that US and Japan resolution to enforce the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, and also just in terms of what Amalie mentioned in the scope. And that is a very real issue that the world is dealing with. I mean, it doesn't become more, it's not more theoretical at any point. It's a very practical issue that could have very significant real effects for the world, the environment, space, etc. So if the work of this committee were able to view, analyze and synthesize philosophical interpretations and present that to the COPWES, I do think that would be beneficial. Now, in terms of taking a position, I wouldn't say I would necessarily agree with that. But if the committee were able to present the philosophical theories in such a way that most people can just listen to in 5 minutes and understand. I think there would be a great value in that. So, for example, when in my work as an attorney, when I was in training, they explained to us that when we have to make an argument, for example, in the court, it has to be very, very simplified so everyone can understand it. So however complex it is, it has to be very simple. So if this committee is able to simplify the concepts, present them to decision makers who can listen to them and can apply them to their decision-making processes, I think that's where the value of the committee is. But again, not in taking a position or presenting it in a complex way, because the bunch of us that are on this committee, and it's very exciting to get lost in the complexity of it. And this wonderful discussion, but most people, wouldn't necessarily find that the case. So if if the work can be synthesized in 5 minutes, and I'm not sure how that could be structured, but generally I would say that would be my thinking of what the benefits of the committee could be outside of the SRI and into the even to the COPUS, which is dealing with its own issue. So a lot of the disputes that were happening during the committee, and there were at least 3 significant conflicts. Yes, I think that philosophically, there's a big root in that, but it was also in terms of the procedural rules. Who can say what, who can add what to the paragraphs, who can remove. So those are rules of procedure that the committee does need to review. But moreover, I think it also has to do with the dynamic between the COPUS, so the UN, the dynamic between the IAF, the dynamic between other space organizations, because even during the COPUS, the director of the committee left the last week and she went to China, and she was meeting with the IAF at a time when one of the major meetings of the COPUS was occurring, and it failed to take a decision to produce a final report, which was bad. But at the same time, in competition with the COPUS was another space meeting in Ankara, where the bilateral agreements being signed. Last year, these COPUS legal subcommittees were in competition with the IAF spring meetings. So I think also just philosophically, in terms of a governance structure, we have to consider where we are in terms of understanding space and how to govern it. And then, even that could take some kind of philosophical perspective. So, yeah, that's my contribution. Thank you.
Oh, yes, thank you very much, Marlène. I have not understand all because my English is not so very well, sorry. I want to ask you, could you please write me some points which you made here yes now? Could
Yes.
could you write me an email to this point so that I have the writing text written text I can better understand,
Okay, no problem. I can
Thank
do
you. Yes, thank you very much. I understand that we have, if we could condense our philosophical message to a 5-minute speech so that all understand this, then we could have we could have success with our campaign.
I think there could be an alternative because there are 2 kinds of interventions possible at COPUS. One is a technical presentation that is 10 minutes of time, and you can show slides. And the other one is a speech, a speech of 5 minutes. So during the past week, Alfred Ansardua made a technical presentation on waste management and in space and sustainability and orbital debris and all these kinds of things, 10 minutes. and myself and Rick Genet. Rick was the other NSS representative in at Coppos LSC, also made a 5-minute speech. I don't know if the ad hoc observers, that is, it will be our states, our status now, if they admit us again, and it's not sure, of course, can make presentations or only short speeches. This is something we have to learn and to understand. Maybe Marlène knows it and can advise. I presently don't know, but I will ask to the staff of Coppos if we can make a presentation. In both cases, that we have a 10-minute presentation or a 5-minute speech, I think.
Sorry, Adriano, I have to interrupt you. Marlène is going. I have a question.
Let me give my suggestion, my proposal.
No, Marlène is going. Has to move.
Yes.
And I have a question to Marlène. One question. The question is, do you know if Kant's ethics is a theme, a topic in the USA with regard to space? Are there some writings, or is there a discussion about Kant's philosophy and space ethics and international law?
Well, I don't know the extent to which that may be the case in the United States, but I can tell you that even just before this call, that's why I was late, I was on another call that was a group on space ethics and philosophy, the law, so specifically on the subject. And so I don't know if you know that, but I'm part of an NGO called For All Mankind, and I lead its Heritage Council section, but there's also a Space Council section, and just recently, maybe 6 months ago, they developed an institute for space ethics and the law and philosophy. And so we've been meeting rather regularly on a monthly basis. And there have been presentations by different experts on subjects that approach space ethics and philosophy. So the discussions have been very interesting because they've introduced topics that inadvertently bring in that concept of ethics. And so I think that group in itself is generally novel, and the structure in which it's developing is also new. So I would say that was probably the one group that I'm most familiar with. And I don't want to say there aren't any other groups, but that group is a good and prominent group. So I guess that would just be the comparable organization and forum that this group would be involved in. And so in that other group, there is some discussion on the philosophers, of course, but there are a lot of real manifestations, so practical dealings with what's happening with space exploration that are interpreted through those deals. So, for example, we discussed, can't go too much in detail, but Locke and ideas of property, and then talked about what that means for the moon, for instance. So that's, I guess, what I would say in response to your answer.
Okay, thank you very much. Perhaps you can work together with German groups and European groups and with US groups. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I wanted to say that in both cases, which kind of, whatever the kind of intervention that we may do in June, this committee could work on developing the concept for this presentation or speech. And if they will accept the letter that I sent today to have SRI as an ad hoc observer, I also added Marie-Luise as one of the delegates for SRI in the June General Assembly. So it is possible that you, Marie-Luise, can give that presentation at COPUS.
Okay, thank you very much. This is okay, good possibility.
I think it will be a very good point for SRI to have a philosophical presentation on peace at COPUS. I think it's a beautiful idea, and I will work for that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Adriano. I interrupt you. Want you to continue with your.
No. It's all what I wanted to say by now. And
Okay.
Gui was raising his hand. Maybe he wants to say something. Gui.
Yes, it was a message which I put in the chat by Willy Lameyer, a teacher, because he has a class of senior high school just before they go to university. Headset.
Thank you.
Just a second. Wait. Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes, very much better.
Yes, this is a message from Willy, a teacher. He has a class which is senior high school just before they go to university about history, literature and philosophy. So that's right, that's for Marie-Luise. And he has students who would like to interact with Marie-Luise and work with her.
Oh.
Excellent. Please.
I put the email of Willy Lameyer also in the messages. And if you can put your own email or if you can, Adriano, send it to me. We will be in touch.
Please invite them to join SRI.
Okay.
Okay. Never forget this is very important. This is our life. Is our life. To getting members.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So
rejoins SRI.
I'm a supporter of SRI and SRI and all the best. And
okay,
thank you. It's a great.
And thanks Marie-Luise.
And thank Marie-Luise.
Thank you very much for your attention here and that you are with us.
What's more? Marie-Luise, is there anything more that we need?
Yes. Michael Schumann. I think he want to say something about the topic Kant and space ethics and space international law in the research field and in the publication field, and he found that this topic Kant and space is not, yes, it's a new field. We have there an original topic which we can now introduce in the discussion, also in the scientific discussion, not only in the political discussion, but also in the scientific field, in the universities surroundings. It's a new topic. Perhaps Mr. Michael, Michael, are you here?
What?
Yeah, okay. You have the floor.
Thanks for the introduction. I will try to contextualize our focus on Kantian ethics, and I will try to keep my note as short as possible. As you probably know, space ethics or astroethics is an emergent topic of the last decades. Irrespective of some lone academic predecessors, the discourse is concerned with real space policy issues was inaugurated as late as the year 2000 by the UNESCO. And since the publications of books like Acro's Second Chance by Jacques Arnaud or The Ethics of Space Exploration by James Schwartz and Tony Milligan, policies applied to space exploration under heightened public scrutiny with regard to such subjects as environmental pollution, better known as planetary protection, or human conduct in intercultural settings, as in the case of the International Space Station. These astroethical deliberations, you'll find some occasional references to Kant already. But to the best of my knowledge, the focus lies on the self-legislations of rational beings, chiefly on the interaction between human beings and extraterrestrial beings. Therefore, some call it a cosmocentric ethics. This interest, probably somewhat exotic, has found its first manifestation in the so-called meta law, coined by the American lawyer Andrew Halley in the 1950s, and again elaborated by the Austrian lawyer Ernest Verzan in the 1970s. And nowadays, to my mind, it's a case of hypothetical value only. And because of this framing in favor of international relations, Kant advocated as predecessor of peaceful relations among peoples on Earth as in space. It seems very promising to me and to Marie-Luise. With a topical view on Kant, it would be possible to connect emerging space ethics, establish space law, and future space policy under the umbrella of international peace and mutual respect for people irrespective of origins. In this way, openness for extraterrestrial encounters and maybe assert in the long term, but without too much emphasis on it today. And if anyone is interested in the literature for further reading, I will be pleased to relate it to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mika. Marie-Luise, you are mute.
Michael has a very good insight in the research field of space philosophy, and I'm very happy that you are working with me together.
May I ask Arthur maybe to share your thought about using Kant in this context for space peace, also in relation to the Congress that we tried to organize a few years ago, Space Not War.
Well, that was too bad that conference didn't happen. Make Space Not War was a really good idea, and we put a lot of effort into it, which I think is just really a great topic and worthwhile considering the situation. The global polarity and conflict among nations has gotten even more extreme since when we were discussing it years ago. So I think it's still a very good topic and something worth pursuing because it should be brought to the forefront. So I think that's something we could maybe consider picking up again at some point. In my own work, I'm actually, we launched at the Luxembourg Space Resources Week and last week at the International Conference on Energy from Space, we have actually initiated a project, a public-private partnership to develop space-based solar power called the Greater Earth Energy Organization. And one of the goals of this approach would be to not only de-risk the financial challenges of developing space-based solar power, but also de-risking the geopolitical challenges. Because what I've learned in my recent experience, especially with my colleagues in China, is that this project has to be done on a global collaborative approach. Any single nation approach to, for example, space solar power or even developing the lunar resources will definitely run into geopolitical challenges. And that's why an international, multinational global approach is really very, very essential to the future of this. So that's the insight that I have now, and we're trying to implement such a vehicle at this moment called, like I said, the Greater Earth Energy Organization, which would be a multinational treaty organization that countries would join in together in a collaborative, peaceful way, because just to avoid the conflict over the control and distribution of future energy resources and lunar resources, etc.
Oh, yes, thank you very much, Monel. Yes, Arthur, and would you collaborate with us on this project, Kant and Ethics?
Well, I think, I mean, that's very tangent to the whole concept. So I'm more practical in terms of this approach, but I think it incorporates all of the stuff that you're talking about right now, and how that can, I think, is very, very important to integrate this concept into futures missions, because we see, you know, actually space is becoming a new area of conflict. You have, yeah, it's just very polarized at the moment if you look at it. So you have different approaches. You have the Artemis approach with all of the countries showing up there. You have the Chinese-Russian approach with their international research laboratory and countries joining up there. So you already have this polarization about going to the moon. So in the end, we have to get beyond that because the issues are too big, you know. So, and I think space-based solar power is one of those ways, because it serves, it addresses the energy crisis, it addresses the climate crisis, things that all humanity is basically concerned about right now. So I think it's a good topic to promote the idea of international collaboration and peaceful cooperation.
Yes, I think we have the same goal, and philosophy and art are sisters and brothers. They're very, yes, connected, very strong connected in the history. I think since antiquity, and yes, I think this is also a mosaic facet, also one facet of this whole topic we want to bring further on.
I have a question.
We can integrate this what your project is.
I have a question to Adriano. Adriano, how many members in the Space Renaissance do you have from like Asia or China?
Well, from China, no, none, actually.
Okay.
None from China. Some from Australia, some from
Okay. Well, from
Japan. India. From India.
Yes, from India we have some. Yes, from Japan. Yeah, but very few. From New Zealand. Yeah.
Well, I just think it's something to think about, is integrating, you know, further nationals into the context. So
100% agree. So if someone wants help in that direction, is very, very welcome. Yes. Let's bring on board people from Asia, definitely.
Well, I was just one more thing. I was just in China in November speaking to my new colleagues in China, and actually that was the sentiment that they conveyed to me, is that these projects, and actually from the Chinese government, they're really big projects. They're looking for international collaboration on a lot of these, and they've actually recently put out several calls to the international space community to participate in some of their activities. So it's very, very interesting. And I mean, whether it's, I mean, you can determine how genuine the whole thing is, but I sort of felt it was genuine. But it's just something to think about, how obviously international collaboration and cooperation, you know, is really the key for the peaceful future of all activities, not only in space but also on Earth.
And I think the cultural collaboration is very important for the political class who wants to make peace.
Yes, for sure. Cultural activities are a vehicle to go in there, and they get a lot of visibility, and you can build in a lot of philosophical concepts into cultural activities. So I think using culture as a very art, culture, etc., is a very effective way to promote these kind of concepts.
Yes, I was invited to China too, to Wuhan, and I presented the space philosophy and space culture in Germany, also from my country, and yes, this was very, very nice discussion, and yes, okay, I think this collaboration with China is not so difficult. Like also with Russia, it's more a problem. But with Russian scientists and with Russian artists and cultural persons, we had so a lot of combination, so a lot of collaboration, cooperation, and yes, the same museum constellations and so on. But now there are great, yes, fightings. Also, for example, the Kant Society in Germany, who wanted to make the great congress this year in Kaliningrad together with the Russians. They say no. They said no. We don't want it now, and they made now their own in Bonn. But I think that this is not so good an idea. We have to come together again. And I think the idea of Adriano is a very good idea, that we have to start a campaign. And I think, what do you think, Arthur, about this slogan, "Weapon-free moon"?
Well, I think weapons-free space is a good idea. So,
Okay,
weapons-free moon is also okay. You know, something.
It's too.
I mean, it's kind of catchy, but I have nothing against it. But...
Okay, as weapon-free space. Okay.
I mean, our whole thing that we really spent so much effort on years ago with the Space Not War was just really exactly that, you know, developing space instead of war. And you just look today how the resources are pouring into the war budgets and not into space budgets. So there again, so it's I think, yeah, the whole idea of developing space has so much potential to create cooperation among the world's people. You know, it's just and it gives hope, and it gives you know, a vision of the future.
Yes, it's a horrible time. Also in Germany, we have, I think, a real militarization of the society, and we have a chance. I think we have a chance to go. Yes, to go peaceful roads again.
So, Marie, did whole issue with this, you know, move against the weaponization at the UN, the Russian and China claim that the original proposal that was brought forward by US and Japan, that was a reiteration of no weapons of mass destruction in space, right? No nuclear bombs. And Russia and China said, well, you're just trying to cover it up. We're not, you know, no nuclear bombs, no weapons whatsoever. That was the way it went down. So the states that are advocating for, you know, the ban on weapons of mass destruction in space, they have a kind of a, you know, the rationale is kind of iffy, because why mass destruction weapons when, you know, where are all the weapons? You know, who is covering up for what? So I think it's a valid point. They don't want nuclear bombs. What do they want? and what is this all about? I just thought I'd mention it because I've been following this, and I thought it was very realistic. That they should say no mass destruction weapons, but leave everything else out of the. And that was the amendment that was brought forward, was to expand this, from just the mass destruction to all weapons. But they didn't want that. But anyway.
Yes, as the mass destruction weapons are forbidden with the outer space treaty from 1967, and the resolution from China and Russia say no, that's not enough. We want no weapons in space, not only no mass destruction, but all weapons. As it should be a weapon-free zone. It's very radical, I think. Yes, also I think the discussion is now open there.
Yeah, there was nothing was reported in the press.
No.
Not a word about this. It was made out that Russia and China had vetoed the ban, which wasn't what happened at all. Yeah.
Yes, I saw the original TV on this, also the original video on this UN Security Council discussion by Russia today, but here I don't see any other journal or other media which report on this, no? On this matter.
Okay, friends. Okay.
Okay.
I think Dierk Spreen was raising his hands. He wants to say something, maybe. Dierk, unmute, please.
So now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I posted something here in the chat. My position at the moment, because I think it may be a little bit difficult, or there's a possibility to if we start a campaign about peaceful space. There is the risk to be misused by the Russian interests. It's simply not. Russia is not a peace power. It's mainly a threat to world peace at the moment. With China, I think it's a little bit other way. It's you cannot put them both together. From my understanding, it should be. It is very useful to discuss the question of peaceful use of space, or how much or how far a militarization should or could maximum go. But there's a risk to be misused by this political context of Russian interests. And if a campaign is a political campaign, if you start something like that, then you cannot rely on the Russians. If you do that, I think this is not good for the space renaissance interests and initiative. The other point is how can under this world circumstances at the moment, I think it's very important to discuss about peace and the possibility of peace, and how can this be done without the risk of being misused by the wrong forces. And I think you should reflect on this very seriously. the other point about the space treaty, there's a contradiction in the space treaty from 1967. The space treaty bans mass weapons in space, but what's Earth? Not in space? From a physical point of view, the Earth is a part of space. Yeah, we are circling around the sun and so on, this is in a way, I think, very. It looks a little bit like a joke, but it's not, because if the idea that we are all astronauts at the moment, and in our history, but we didn't know it. Now we can know it. Then the differentiation between the world on Earth and the world on space is not relevant anymore. And what does this mean? So I think it could be a more better idea to come with an input in 5 minutes or something, which brings the point to the how to discuss about peace under these circumstances, and why peace is very important now, more important now than ever. The other point is Guy posted this year that militarization and war is not the same. War is not okay. Militarization or military can mean that you prevent war. And this is was the idea of the German forces in the Cold War. They said being able to fight to avoid having to fight. So this was the short version of the Western Germany forces. And at the moment, this is a little bit difficult to think that we are in a new Cold War. We are in a new historical position. But if there should be peace and law with Kant, the idea that peace is a piece of a law, then the law has to be needs teeth. It must be a force there to say this is law and this is not what you are doing. You are doing something against the law, and you have to be sanctionized because of that. And these are very difficult questions. So I think that if you want to make a campaign on peaceful space use or something, the main point must be not to be misused by the Russian interests. This is what I can say from the point here, because I'm working for the German forces, and this is in a way a natural position on that.
Can I make a couple of quick points here? Sorry, Marie, to butt in, but there's a history of Russia. You know, there's space in Russia, the rockets, everything that was developed by Russia goes way, way back, doesn't it? The second point is that you mentioned here, Dirk, that the law is only valid if it has teeth. The teeth of the ban on weapons. These are international organizations, you know, the radio groups, the Space Monitor, all of these vast, you know, international organizations, they have teeth. You know, I mean, it exists. This world is being monitored and can be seen what's going on. The other point is that despite the claim about weapons of mass destruction, what they're actually developing now, especially in America, is electromagnetic pulse weapons that are not nuclear, but will have the same effect and they will knock out satellites. So you're talking about very high levels of technology. There's power beaming as well, other instruments that can be used. And all of this conglomerate can be broken down and agreements can be made about usage. It's not undoable. And as for Russia and the political perspective on Russia, I understand, but I do think there's the history and the development of space in Russia. That's a topic that we could definitely refer to in a moderate and mid-road position, that it does exist, and just because of the current goings on, what's going on, I'm sorry, I'm yeah, well, anyway, Mother Russia is very sad, and I think they should be taken back into the fold. They're a very important partner. They partner for the ISS. They're very good, and it's not possible without Russia. How can you make this global consolidation? It's not going to happen. So anyway, sorry, Marie. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just an emotion for the time, because
yeah,
usually our committee try to keep the time within 1 hour for the meeting. Now we are near 2 hours. I suggest that we close this very, very interesting and useful meeting. We can continue the discussion on the Google group, and trying on the Google group to refine the concepts and the arguments for our intervention at the Corpus General Assembly in June. That it will take from 19 to 28 of June. So we have time, 1.5 months, more or less, to develop our concept.
I have to say one sentence. Also in Kant's time, there was war. It was not a peaceful time in Kant's own history, and I think that this universal view on all mankind and all states and all nations, this is a very important starting point for us.
Yes, I think we should go over the concept of nations as good.
Yes.
Yes, and to talk about peoples, maybe.
No. Okay. No, Kant was against this idea of
global communities, peoples, the right of all the peoples of Earth to work together and to develop and to avoid to put away the psychopath war lords that are dominating in too many countries nowadays. And I know that whatever position we can take, it can be instrumentalized by Russia or by somebody else. But I think this is a risk that we have to run this risk. We cannot avoid it because we cannot tailor our position thinking about how it could be instrumentalized by this or this other country. We have, first of all, to develop our concept. Then we will think maybe some countermeasures in order to avoid that it can be instrumentalized. But I believe that we cannot start thinking about that. We should firstly develop our concept, I think. So this is my 2 cents for continuation of this discussion. Quite interesting discussion and useful.
Okay, I thank all for the discussion and this It's lively discussion and the important points you made. And okay, I say goodbye.
Thank you very much. Marie-Luise, I will send you the materials for a minutes of this meeting. The recording, the transcript, everything. Okay, tomorrow morning I will send everything to you.
Okay, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Yeah, bye.
Ad astra.